All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new movie review. Last night, I had the opportunity to see the brand new David Ayer movie titled The Beekeeper 2. Oh, wait. No, that wasn't actually the movie. It was called A Working Man. But all I could think about was they could have just done a little bit of rebranding and called this The Beekeeper 2. Because he's pretty much the same guy. He's a retired guy who comes out of retirement for his old job because he is a working man working for a construction company, and he works for a family who owns this construction company. The daughter of this family gets kidnapped, and he has to go rescue her and come out of retirement. So there were a couple of areas where I was like, they could have easily made this a Beekeeper 2 sequel, but I'm glad they didn't, and we're going to talk about this here today. So before I talk about this movie specifically, I have to let you guys know that there are a series of action movies that have come out over the last 3 years that I've really enjoyed going to the movie theater to see. One of those was the movie Ambulance by, the guy who did the Transformers movies. I hate it when I forget people's names. Michael Bay. Really like that movie. Overuse of drones, but a really fun movie. You also had Bullet Train, which I absolutely love that movie. I think it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun. It's unique. And then last year, we had David Ayer's The Beekeeper, which I really had a fun time with that movie. All three of those films are reasons why you go to the movies, to be entertained, to be where you don't have to do a lot of deep thinking. You just want to go be entertained, watch a fun movie, and they usually come out about this time of year before the summer season. So where does this movie rank amongst those? I'll talk about that here at the end. Now, here's what I really liked. As soon as the movie started, the first thing I noticed was the score. I really liked the score for the film. It really sets the mood at the very beginning of the film, and I think I'm actually going to pick up this score. It really made an impact. I think it was probably my favorite part of the film. Now, I also noticed that David Ayer must have had a different choreographer for this film than he did for something like The Beekeeper, because a lot of the action shots, I'm not kidding, were very close up. It was very hard to tell what was going on in some of the action scenes, and it definitely did not look like the choreographer that he used for The Beekeeper, where you could tell everything that was going on. It was very fluid, very well done. Not here. This was very different. I really like the feel of The Beekeeper filming-wise, and I just don't think that the cinematographer or the choreographer were the same for this film. Now, this movie was written by both Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham, and so they were both involved in this, and the story is actually pretty good. This is, out of all the four films that I just mentioned, this film is the most grounded. I was pleasantly surprised by the second half of the film. The first half of the film, though, not a big fan of. In fact, there were some storylines that should have been cut out entirely. In fact, there's one whole storyline. If you guys go see the film, you'll remember this. He has to go see somebody at a bar. It's a guy who has a whole entourage of people to move up to the next level of where he's doing his investigation. And they come in towards the end of the film as well. And if you take that whole storyline out, it does not change the movie at all. It was completely unneeded. This movie, I think, was right around 2 hours and should have been around 90 minutes. I thought the pacing of the film, especially in the first half, had a couple of issues. But are you bored at any point during the film? No, you're not going to be bored. In fact, you're going to be there along the ride to see how this all plays out. But it could have been a much quicker film. It could have been more concise. I don't usually say that about movies, but this film would have definitely benefited from about 20 minutes being cut out of the film to make it tighter. So let's talk about my rating on this film. It's to no surprise that this is Jason Statham being Jason Statham. It's who he is. It's what he does. He plays the same guy in every film. I really enjoyed The Beekeeper. This film, not as much. I've toyed around with either 3 out of 5 stars or 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm like right in the middle of those two because it's not a great film, but it's not a terrible film. When this goes for sale on physical media, I'll pick it up when it is at a discounted price. It's still a good movie. You will have a good time at the theater, but don't expect anything on the level of the other 3 films. This one seemed like a much smaller budget, and like I said, the cinematography in some of the scenes was also very It's a very dark film. There's a lot of nighttime scenes and other things. You can still see what's going on, but it doesn't have the clarity of something like The Beekeeper. There aren't a whole lot of during the day scenes, and so it was not as entertaining as those other films. But hey, I still had a really good time. I was never bored. I walked away going, yeah, that was a pretty good movie. Was it a great film? No. So at the end of the day, I think if I had to go between 3 and 3.5, I think I'm going to stick with 3. It just didn't have that little extra oomph that it should have. If they cut down on the runtime, and if they would have cut out, some of the stuff with these other characters that I think were unnecessary, I would have bumped it up to probably 3.5, close to 4 stars. But the movie, just the pacing and everything else, you'll enjoy the second half much more than the first half. And there's an aspect to this movie I really enjoyed. I don't want to get into too much to spoil too much, but the girl that gets kidnapped, I think she behaves like a real person would. She doesn't just take it. She fights back. And it was nice to see somebody finally fight back for a change where, most people who get kidnapped, they just let things happen to them. And so I was happy to see that she did fight back during the film in some pretty entertaining ways. So enjoy the movie if you go see it. I think it's still worth going to see if you want to go see the new David Ayer film. David Ayer has never missed, as far as I can tell. All of his movies are very entertaining, but this one is not one of my favorite David Ayer films. But I really love the score, I will tell you that. All right, guys, if you go see it, please come back and tell me what you thought of the film down below. We will see you guys on the next review.